Hey, welcome to Kate Crafts. I'm Kate. Today I would like to share with you my make for Craft Roulette episode 179. Let's get started. To kick things off, I am going to color in these leaves with the list of markers right there on the left. These are all colored in Copic markers, and yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this. This is just a few of the leaves that I'm coloring in here to show you the gradient blends that I've chose. And I have a couple of other leaves that quite a few other leaves that I ended up coloring off camera just to spare you the whole process of coloring too many leaves. And yeah, I like coloring, and I think it's fun to die cut and stamp things out and, you know, go through the process of picking your colors and whatnot. But this is probably what takes the most time out of card making for me, is picking the cards, picking the color, or picking the stamps and picking the colors, and then putting it all together and hope for the best that it all matches up all right. And yeah, sometimes it's not so happy, sometimes it is, but for the most part, you know, it is what it is. You're here to create, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and, you know, as long as you're having fun. And yeah, I had fun making this. This was actually for, at the time of this recording, last week, which was the end of August, for Craft Roulette, episode 179. And if you're not sure what Craft Roulette is a live improvisational paper crafting show hosted by Mary Gunn FUNN. Each week they feature a different guest crafter and challenge them to make a randomly selected craft live. Talk about pressure. They also do a live every Friday night over on YouTube at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I will make sure to leave all of the information to the Craft Roulette in the description box below, including where you could actually submit your photos. So what they want is actual handmade cards, not digital cards, and they would like a certain parameter, which can sometimes be difficult. I know I missed last weekend's because I wasn't really feeling it, but this week that just passed, I couldn't resist. I thought it was a lot of fun. So we're just rounding off the coloring here with the cute little cheeks. And next up we have the Lawn Fawn double slider. Yep, double slider. I forced myself to make something that I've never done before, and I had to watch quite a few videos before I was able to execute this properly. So I've gone ahead and cut out all the pieces that I'm going to need from this. And this right here, we are going to use the 1/8 of an inch score tape, and we are going to butt these guys up together so that way we can create our little pocket. So these will almost be like a little pillow pocket if you pinch them, but they're not a pillow pocket. But you'll see what I mean here in a second. So I'm just lining up this 1/8 of an inch score tape along the little folded piece that I did here. I don't know what the technical terms are for these, so you'll have to forgive me. So I'll line those guys up. I will remove the release tape, and then I will just very carefully mash that over, and then that way you can see there's a little bit of a pocket. So we're going to set this off to the side, and we are going to create our hills. Well, we're going to use it as a template, actually. So I've got this hillside border die. These are all Lawn Fawn products, and I am finicky here. I'm going to create a land for my little critters to stand on. Now, I'm being a little extra in doing this, and it doesn't have to be this complicated. For some reason, I thought in my head this would all line up, but really it didn't. So if you try to recreate this and want your land to line up properly, you might not want to do it this way. You might want to have the pieces in and then line them up. So yeah, lesson learned. Next time, if I'm going to line the pieces of land up, then we need to have it halfway assembled. And I would have cut 2 pieces for this, but I ended up not. I just cut one of this piece, and then I'm going to split it in half and use one half as one hill and one half as the other. And I believe this is the sweater remix, I think it is. Let me check here. I think it is, yeah, the sweater remix. And I'd had a 12 by 12 piece cut down to 6 by 6. I think I got in a lawn fawn package. And then the other two come from the actual 6 by 6 book that I had. So all I'm doing here is I'm grabbing some of the Barely Arts glue, and we are going to glue that down to our little pocket here and make sure everything's nice and secure. And then we're going to do the same for these little credit card size slots of paper, I guess you could say. I don't know. I don't know what the technical terms are. The little slider bits that come out from the sides. I don't know. Correct me if you know the names to these, because I can never remember if there's actual names. I know that with the Magic Iris, they have the little sausages with the stabilizers, and yeah, I haven't made one of those in a hot second. Maybe that'll be one of my up-and-coming interactive cards. So once we've got those guys glued down, we are going to take this weird little shape here. It kind of reminds me what you would thread your floss on for embroidery, or a really oversized spool for yarn. Or not yarn, thread. Yeah. And all I'm doing is taking the 1/8 of an inch score tape and going along these little areas right here, whatever they're called. And I'm taping them down with that 1/8 of an inch tape, and then I'm going to figure out what to do next. So I ran into a bit of trouble. A bit of trouble indeed. So I've got this extra piece of cellophane wrapper from a package, and I think I'm just going to cut this down and I will use it and it'll be nice and hunky-dory. But when you look at the video, Kelly Marie ends up using a poop bag for a doggy. And I don't have a dog. I have a cat. And we don't use those types of bags in my house, so I had to improvise. And when I went to use this, I thought, okay, this should be alright. I'll tape it down, we'll be fine. So I ended up grabbing some of my double-sided tape runner here, and I taped it twice, and then I folded it over. Well, actually, I made sure everything was nice and lined up first. And then I thought, okay, there's step one. So you've got this little band that you're going to go around this piece right here, and then we're going to take that same 1/8 of an inch score tape, and we are just going to put it along one edge of this credit card looking piece. And then that's on the back side. And then you got to do the same thing, but on the opposite side, on the front. So you've got one on the front, one on the back, and you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to take that release tape off, and I'm going to tape this down as best as I can to this little spool thingy that we've got going on here. And I'm careful to line everything up, and then I start to pull, and I get resistance. And I can't figure it out. So there's a bit of resistance. Now, I figured out that it was the crease in the bag that I was having an issue with, and then I realized afterwards that there was another issue. We'll get to that in a sec. So here, I ended up garbage picking a plastic bag out of my never-ending cupboard of junk. You know, where all the old pots and pans go to die that you don't play in or ever bother to go in. And I tend to throw in extra paper bags into that little drawer cupboard area. So I ended up finding one there, which is odd because nobody, well, not nobody, I shouldn't say, but quite a few stores here have stopped giving out plastic bags and you have to bring your own. So, yeah. Anyway, I digress. So this is what I mean here. So I've got a proper bag that I'm going to use, but I shouldn't have taped it twice. That's my problem. I ended up taping it twice, and it just didn't end up working for me. Again, I've got the little bit of adhesive here that I'm going to throw down just to make sure that I've got everything, you know, all right, and I can move stuff around. So I end up peeling off the release tape here, and I make sure to line everybody up. And you want to make sure that when you've got that front part up, you got that lined up. And you can see I can't pull it quite well. And I'm a little confused, so I think, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and put this one on too. So I peel off the release tape, and I put it down, and I think, okay, well, maybe you need both of them to create some kind of pull. So here I'm just lining everybody up on the edge, making sure everything's nice and straight, and then I will line this one up with the other side and pat that down. And then you could see I get a bit of resistance. And then I get frustrated. So I ended up peeling it all apart again. Thankfully, I didn't totally ruin everything. So yeah, if you do try this at home, don't double tape the bag. Don't be like me and double tape your bag. So we're going to try this a third time. And yeah, I left all this in because I struggled with this one. I did. I mean, overall, it was an interesting setup to assemble, but this is where I got hung up, was the stupid plastic bag. So I'm going to take the 1/8 of an inch score tape because it's the thinnest tape that I have. Throw some of that down on another piece that I've cut, and then I'll fold that over, and then I'll trim off the excess. Now I want to make sure that I do have a little bit of wiggle room, so that will go around the little spool piece here. So again, I'm going to line everybody back up, back to the bag, and you can see I don't have any resistance. Well, I got a little bit, but not as substantial as the last one. So we are going to shift that seam over just a bit, so that way it runs along the cardboard, so to speak. Not cardboard, cardstock. Derp. So I'm going to line that up again, make sure that it moves all right, and then I'm going to end up positioning that to where I need it to be, and then I will put my other piece on again. So again, more tape. Thankfully, I did not wreck this one. I was so pleased that I didn't, because I would have been sad because I don't have any more of that pattern paper again. I think that happened in my ta-da video. I ran out of the same pattern paper I was using and had to improvise. So here I'm just kind of testing out the waters to see where I need to be. I'm going to pull that guy out just a smidge, just to make sure that I'm lined up with that. And this is just how I figure as I go. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, and sometimes I have to do stuff like this to make sense. I'm sure you do too. So you can see that we got no resistance, and we can move the part freely. So next up, we are going to assemble the actual pocket itself. So we're going to take off the release tape to the 1/8 of an inch score tape that we use down the base of this, and we are going to line everything up as best we can, and we're going to mash that down. And then we're going to tuck that guy in there to make sure that everything is okay. And then we're going to take the release tape off of that side and fold it down. And then we'll do the same for this one. And then once we get back up to the top here, we are going to take off that release tape, and then we're not going to fold it over, or we're not going to fold it down, but we're going to fold that little lip over because we put more tape on it, and then we'll fold it down. So you got this cute little pocket that you can slide in and out. So this is the double slider surprise. And boy, was I surprised that I finally got there in the end. So next, we're going to speed this up double time because I've already spent a lot of time trying to explain to you what I was doing. So I've taken my colored images here, and I've got 2 piles of leaf and a cute little mouse. And I'm going to add a little bit of foam tape because it's not going to be an issue to have foam tape on the centerpiece, but you want to make sure that the pieces on the sides of the slider surprise are relatively flat so that they can tuck in to their little pocket. And yeah, so once I've added an adequate amount of foam tape, we are going to peel off the release tape, and then we are going to grab a little bit of that Barely Art glue, and we're going to plop that cute little sucker down. And then next, we are going to have the other little mouse just kind of floating along with a little leaf, trying to land onto the ground, just because he's so cute. And then I drop it, and then I mash him down. And then I end up putting this leaf over the little spot of glue that I ended up getting. Oh no, not that one. The other one, yeah. The other one I ended up covering the little spot of glue that I had there. So once I'm happy on that side, we are going to move to the next, and this little guy is going to be like, yay! Throwing leaves all over the place because, you know, leaf piles and throwing leaves around as a kid was like the highlight of the fall for me anyway. And then next I have this Simply Celebrate Fall row of leaves that I had that I'd colored in, and then I'm going to take the extra little leaves that I'd colored from the stamp set, and I'm going to tuck those guys in underneath the sentiment. That way it kind of fills everybody out. So this one is I'm thankful for you, and then once we're done this, we are going to put the sentiment on the top, and then we're going to need to figure out how to add a card base. Now, I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted to go about this, if I wanted to do a bigger sized card and plop this on, or if I just wanted to do a little bitty card on the back. And we ended up going with a little bitty card on the back. So I've got this cardstock that I've cut down, and then we're going to do 4 1/4 by 3. Yeah, I think that's 4 1/4 by 3. And then we are going to add this to our card. So I've already stamped my little logo on the back, and then we're going to glue this down. But I want to make sure that I trim that down just a smidge more, because I want to be able to fit my fat fingers into those little pocket holes that I could pull, because you don't want to pull the actual card itself, because that might be a little janky to do. So that's what we're doing here. So we've cut the card down, we're going to make sure it's right side up, and then we're going to slot it right between those two little pocket holes there. And there you have it. There is my double slider surprise. I hope you enjoyed today's content. I really had a lot of fun making this. And yeah. So here we have it closed, and then we open up the card and it says, "You really ought to know," and then we have it open. So if you've enjoyed today's content or found it helpful, please give this video a like. I also welcome you to subscribe, as I post weekly. Here's another video I think you might enjoy. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Take care.